In this video, we're going to be working on creating different types of questions that you can use on your Google form. Just remember that you have the title on your Google form here and that you are also saving it up at the top so that the file name is something that you can find later. Our paragraph is our first example, and this is a long answer section. This will be able to allow a student to input at least a paragraph, if not more. Remember that if you want to copy or duplicate the question, use here. If you want to delete it, you're here. And if it's a required question, you will go here. One of the extra things that you can do is on the triple dots here on the right, you can do a response validation, and there's all sorts of different things. So you could actually set a specific length, and they could have a specific number or a maximum number of characters to go in there, and you can put in the number count here. This is really good if you have a certain length of their answer that you want them to answer in. Here's a paragraph answer, and you can kind of keep continuing to type. The next type of question is a multiple choice question, and you can add different options that are on here. The different options will allow them to answer, but they will only be able to answer one item. So you can change just by simply typing in the name of the activity or whatever your answer wants to be, and your question title comes up in this section. You can also add an other answer in here. So if you have all these options that you want, but you want to give them a chance to answer something that's not of your options, you'll have an other section where they can type in the answer. We have a multiple choice here, and you can see that I can only select one of the questions. So the checkboxes is a way to get more than one answer for a section. So we have maybe a question about a student's behavior here, and then I have active listening, following directions, and on-task behavior. When I go to select on the form and actually fill it out, I could use and check 1, 2, or all 3 of these answers. So how many ever answers you have will allow you to check each and every single one. This is what the behavior one looked at for the checkbox, and you can see that I can check on multiple answers or none of the answers. One of the questions you could ask for a drop-down is maybe just a simple attendance, if a student was present, absent, or tardy, and the menu will drop down and you'll be able to select one of your choices. This is the question for my drop-down grid, and you can see that I can check off if a student is present, tardy, or absent, and it only allows me to do one. The next type of question I want to share with you is a file upload. This could be really cool if you wanted to have students send you something through Google Drive. The first thing that pops up is let respondents upload files to the drive, and then you'll continue with this. So the question I might put in is upload your video, and maybe I want the students to have a specific file that I want to get in. So if I check it, I can actually check off the ones that I'm allowing to be in here. So for my example, I might want to do a video upload. The maximum number of files, you can actually change this from 1 to 5 to 10. I'm going to stick at 1 for this example. The maximum file size is 10 megabytes. You can change it to 1, 100, 1 gigabyte, or 10 gigabytes. If you're a Google Apps for Education school, you may want to change it to 10 gigabytes just because it'll be the biggest file size that you're allowed. The students won't have any problem and your file size won't matter. This is saying that this form is no longer accepting responses because a single response can exceed the 1 gigabyte total size. So I'm going to click the change button, and I'm going to come over and it says maximum size of all files uploaded. I can actually go to 1 terabyte, and that should be good, and I'll hit the save button, and you'll notice that it changes. If I want to make it required again, I'll check that off, and the students will be able to upload a file, for this example, a video file for your Google form. File upload, I can add my file, it'll bring this up, and then I can select my file from my computer or my mobile device. Okay, the next one is a linear scale, and so a question might be, how did you do in class today? And with that, I want it to be a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being horrible and 5 being amazing. So this will be important if you're trying to gauge your class on how they felt or how they feel about a certain skill. You might want to use the Likert scale. How did you do in class today? Here's your Likert scale. So was I horrible? Was I amazing? Was I somewhere in the middle? The next question we're going to go over is a multiple choice grid. So one of the cool things about this is you can have these different rows that are set up. I might want to make these student names. Now, when you get 30 or more students in a class, typing in names is kind of boring. You can take a list from Excel and you can actually copy all of the names from the list, and you'll go up to the first row and you'll hit Command V or Control V, and it'll actually paste all of the names straight down. So for my example, I'm just going to type in a couple of names to get yourself ready for this. So these are the rows that are going to go across horizontally. The columns that go up and down, I'm going to set up some criteria. So what might be interesting for this one is to do a attendance again, and I'll put absent, tardy, present, and then what'll happen, and I'll show you how this sets up in just a second with the actual form, that you'll be able to see how the form looks. Now, at the bottom it says require a response in each row. If you want to set it up so that each row needs to have a response, you'll turn it on. And if you're okay with leaving rows blank for whatever reason, for whatever question you're using, leave it off. Attendance today. If I was using this for an attendance, I'd go ahead and I'd click on whether they were present, or if I saw someone was tardy, or if they ended up being absent. Okay, checkbox grid is the next question. So if I was to do a skill, so let's do throwing standards. Once again, I'm going to go ahead and just type in some names, but I can copy and paste a whole bunch of names into my form just by doing Command C for copy and Command V for paste. Over here, maybe I do turn sideways as my first cue. My second cue is the T step where my arms go wide. The third one is the L step where I bend my elbow. My next step is the actual step with my front foot, and then I want to do my follow through. If I want a response for each row, I can check it. Now what's cool about this is I can check off each individual one when it shows up, or it can choose to not check off depending on what I'm asking. If I'm using this as a way to show off throwing skills and what they are demonstrating, checking off each one will show that they demonstrate that step. The checkbox grid is a really cool one where you could actually have your throwing skill and you have your checklist. So if I watch Mickey observe a throw today, I'd say I saw the sidewards turn, I saw the T, I didn't see him bend his elbow, I saw him take a front step, and I saw the follow through. Then Minnie's turn was she did all of the steps correctly. And then Goofy, he missed a couple of the things here and he needs to work on it. When you're done, you have the submit button on your actual Google form so that you're ready to go.